net.com. Two Fridays ago, Barack Hussein Obama was in Roanoke, Virginia. I want you to grab audio soundbite number 17. This was Obama. This is hilarious, by the way, folks. What's coming up here? You've heard the Obama. It's what's coming up after the Obama. I just want to repeat this. Barack Obama, Roanoke, Virginia, on July 13th, explaining to people that if they started a business that they really didn't, that everybody else did it for them.
If you've been successful, you didn't get there on your own.
No.
You didn't get there on your own. I'm always struck by people who think, well, it must be because I was just so smart. There are a lot of smart people out there. It must be because I worked harder than everybody else. Let me tell you something. There are a whole bunch of hard-working people out there. If you were successful, somebody along the line gave you some help. There was a great teacher somewhere in your life. Somebody helped to create this unbelievable American system that we have that allowed you to thrive. Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen. The internet didn't get invented on its own. Government research created the internet, so then all the companies could make money off the internet.
Right. Now, that created all kinds of problems for the president, and it led to a number of defenders. He didn't, no. But you heard the attitude. He says that with phrases being mean. The guy has an animus against people who are self-reliant. And he's hell-bent on telling them that they didn't do anything on their own. And what he means is that everybody who's successful ended up stealing the labor of other people, or actually stealing their money, or tricked them out of their money, or cheated them in business, or what have you. He doesn't believe in it. Believes the state ought to pick winners and losers. So then the defenders came along and said, well, you're taking him out of context. He was really talking about the roads and bridges and not businesses when he says business owners didn't build that. You didn't do that. This roads and bridges garbage is just, it's also indicative of who these people are. Roads and bridges, infrastructure, roads and bridges. There's a road in front of everything. If having a road in front of a business meant that it was successful, there would be nothing but successful businesses. And if all you had to do to have a successful business, have a bridge nearby, then there'd never be a business that was a failure. Well, the hits kept on coming, and people kept pounding, and it took its toll. So last Friday in Jacksonville, we're going up to audio soundbite 16, Obama in Jacksonville was interviewed by WCTV Eyeball News correspondent Andy Alcock. And Andy Alcock of Eyewitness News in Florida said, look, I want to talk to you about comments you made in Virginia the other day. Caused a little bit of a stir. And I want to quote you exactly. Part of what you said, if you got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen. On Tuesday, Governor Romney responded and said, say something like that is not only foolishness, it's insulting to every entrepreneur and every innovator. What is your response, Mr. President?
Well, the problem is you left out the sentence that I made before. So what I said was, together we build roads and we build bridges. And so if you got a business, you didn't build that, meaning the roads and the bridges, not your business. And anybody who actually watched the tape knows that's what I was referring to. And that's a point I've made millions of times, and that's a point Mr. Romney has made as well. So this is just a bogus issue.
Right. Roads and bridges. The fact is they did build the roads and bridges. It was their taxes who built the roads and bridges. He doesn't have terra firma on which to stand. But anyway, this has caused, ladies and gentlemen, sheer panic in Obamaville. And 3 days ago in the Washington Post, there was a piece by a guy named Dylan Matthews. I'm almost reluctant to mention his name because this is so it's incomprehensible. It is a piece on the Washington Post wonk blog entitled The Philosophy of You Didn't Build That. It essentially is a dissertation on the philosophy of Obama's horrible speech on small business. And what we have here is an intellectual trying to explain what Obama is so smart. He's so much smarter than we are that we cannot hope to keep up with him. We don't have a chance of truly understanding what he means. He is so above us. We are so beneath him. By now, you've surely heard about Obama's "you didn't build that" line. In case you haven't, here's the full quote. He gives the full quote. The Romney campaign immediately seized on the moment for a campaign ad. But as has been noted, Obama's speech is murky in terms of what values it expresses. Descriptively, it's clear what Obama means. No one's ever built a road on their own, and if they had, it wouldn't be good enough to drive on. Who says that somebody couldn't build a road? Anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked here. But let's suppose that you did build a road entirely on your own. Now, keep in mind now, this piece is to defend Obama and what he said. Let's suppose you did build a road entirely on your own, and you charge tolls, and you make a lot of money off it. Do you deserve the money? After all, you did all the work yourself. Then again, maybe you only know how to build a road because you had good parents who paid for good schools, where you learned about civil engineering. And even if they hadn't, maybe you're only capable of understanding the concepts needed to build a road because you inherited DNA. It gave you a brain that can understand those concepts. Maybe you wouldn't even have to have gotten into civil engineering unless an aunt had given you a book on it as a present. And if she had chosen to give you a book on rocketry instead, you would have pursued that career. Do you still deserve that money? Are you with me so far? Well, hang in there. Political philosophers are sharply divided on these questions. Many do not like the idea that people deserve things at all. For one thing, most people think that to deserve something, a person must have done something to deserve it. Well, that implies that there are actions that for which certain people are responsible. Seems obvious? A lot of metaphysicians don't think so. For one thing, that claim presupposes the existence of free will. Some philosophers are what is called hard determinants, who deny that anything that could be called free will exists. Others, called compatibilists or soft determinists, believe that it is both true that free will exists and that every action is determined. The reason that free will exists if people can act according to their own motives without interference. Those motives are determined by factors outside those people. Compatibilists argue, but they still have free will. Are you still with me here? This is Dylan Matthews going to explain what Obama meant. But if hard or soft determinism is true, how can people be responsible for their actions and thus deserve things because of them? The philosopher Harry Frankfurt of Princeton tried to explain how this could be so. In the 1969 paper, Alternate Possibilities and Moral Responsibility, he argued that there are many cases where we would hold somebody responsible for an action, even when the person could not have acted otherwise. Suppose you're going to get a burrito for lunch, and you can either go to Chipotle or Qdoba. Suppose also that I have implanted a chip in your brain such that if you decide to go to Qdoba, chemicals are released into your brain that change your mind, and you instead decide to go to Chipotle. Suppose, finally, that you get up, you decide to go to Chipotle, you eat your burrito in peace without my chip ever being activated. You are clearly responsible for going to Chipotle. Chipotle, fine. But you could not have done otherwise. Chipotle? Say it one voice. Chipotle. It's spelled Chipotle. Chipotle. That's it? You're telling me it's Chipotle? Well, I'm going to call it Chipotle because I've never heard the word pronounced that way, and it doesn't matter. Chipotle? Okay, I'm going to read the paragraph again. Because you have distracted everybody now from the... This is... Oh, jeez. This is a piece written by an intellectual, pseudo-intellectual, attempting to explain why Obama was right when he said you didn't build it. Suppose you're going to go get a burrito for lunch. You can either go to Chipotle or Qdoba. Suppose also that I have implanted a chip in your brain, such that if you decide to go to Qdoba, chemicals are released into your brain that change your mind. You instead decide to go to Chipotle. Suppose finally you get up, you decide to go to Chipotle, you eat your burrito in peace without my chip ever being activated. You are clearly responsible for going to Chipotle, but you could not have done otherwise. The problem is that you are not morally responsible for going to Chipotle if you were originally planning to go to Qdoba and the chip does fire. And if causal determination is true, your DNA and brain chemistry are more or less equivalent to that chip. In both cases, something you have no control over is manipulating your brain and making you do things. So it's possible that the philosopher Harry Frankfurt is wrong, and we cannot deserve things if free will is false. Now, some political philosophers think desert is possible, even if determinism means individual moral responsibility is impossible. Again, I'm reading to you word for word from a piece of the Washington Post wonk blog attempting to explain what Obama meant when he said, you didn't do that. You didn't do that on your own. Some political philosophers, that you're still trying to figure out why you went to Chipotle and that chip in your brain. You're still trying to figure out what the hell is Limbaugh talking about? What chip in my brain that didn't fire or did fire? What's it got to do with free will and whether or not I wanted a freaking burrito? But we're moving on. While you're still trying to figure that out, remember now, you can't keep up with Obama. You are just too beneath him. Some political philosophers think that desert is possible. And it's not dessert because there's only one S. You want to argue with me about this? Doesn't make sense either way. So don't get caught up in this. Some political philosophers think that desert is possible, even if determinism means individual moral responsibility is impossible. John Rawls, in his book, A Theory of Justice, endorsed what he called institutional desert. There are certain institutions, he reasons, that a just society must have. People deserve whatever benefits or treatment these just institutions would provide them. But they do not deserve this treatment because of things they've done. They deserve them because justice demands institutions that provide this kind of treatment. Most Rawlsians and other high liberals who support an institutional notion of justice, such as my old thesis advisor, Tim Scanlon, oh yeah, old Tim, lean to the left in real political terms, believing that just institutions would provide considerable economic and social support to citizens. Utilitarians and other consequentialists who think the moral action is about promoting good outcomes like happiness usually reject the idea of desert. Now, some, like J.J.C. Smart of Monash University, also believe that determinism is true and precludes moral responsibility. They take this as a reason to believe that we should just maximize good things, whether or not that results in people getting the goods they deserve. Others concede that free will could exist, but they insist that even in that case, what matters is promoting good outcomes, not giving people what they deserve due to their actions. Utilitarians are in some way even more left-leaning than Rawlsians, as the theory implies, according to Peter Singer and many others. that residents of rich countries should give almost all their money away to the poor. And what's more, it doesn't particularly matter to utilitarians whether people give the money away voluntarily or if the government takes it from them, as utilitarians don't believe that people have inalienable rights, such as a right against excessive taxation. NYU's Sam Scheffler, whose view combined elements of high liberalism and consequentialism, has expressed concern that the unpopularity of desert among liberals in political philosophy disconnects the discipline from real political debates about welfare, crime, and other issues where responsibility and desert matter a great deal. All of this, folks, I'm halfway through this, is to, remember the headline to this piece, the philosophy of you didn't build that. Funnily enough, the main proponents of a robust idea of desert within academic political philosophy are luck egalitarians. Luck egalitarians, who arguably the most left-wing contingent in real-world political terms, seeing as they support eliminating inequalities in wealth due to differences in intelligence. This school, which includes the late G.A. Cohen of Oxford and UC San Diego's Richard Arneson, argues that it is morally imperative to minimize the degree to which people's life outcomes are attributable to luck. I had to take a break here, folks, but I just want to share this with you because this is how they defend Obama in the Washington Post. It's pure, utter nonsense, gobbledygook.